In this video, we are going to go over how to rock solving and inequalities. So compound inequalities that involve the word and, either when you read it out loud or when you see the expressions. I'm going to show you in the first problem how to solve this with two different methods. So different teachers will teach us in different ways. Some people agree more with one method. Another method might work better with their brain. So I'm going to show you both, and then in the second problem, I'm going to do the method that I prefer. Okay, so let's do it. So method one would be to split up an and inequality. How do you know it's an and inequality? Well, you've got the expression that you're solving for in between two inequality signs. So this is read 10 is less than or equal to 12m plus 6, which is less than 42. Or you could read it as 12m plus 6 is greater than or equal to 10 and it is less than 42. So I'm going to split it up based on that and, based on the second translation. So 12m plus 6 is greater than or equal to 10. So I'll write it like that, like so. And 12m plus 6 is less than 42. So that's the splitting up method. So once you split it up, you are literally solving these inequalities like you've solved every other inequality before. In fact, this is the only new step. Let's check out how to solve it. So I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides. And I end up with 4 is less than or equal to 12m. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 12. Again, solving like it's an equation. So I get 1/3 is less than or equal to m. Now, notice that when I solve this inequality and isolate m, I'm going to be doing the same steps because after all, I'm isolating the very same m from the very same expression. So I'll subtract 6 from both sides. And that's going to leave me with 12m is less than 36. And we're going to get two different solutions here because we have different numbers on the right side. And I'm going to divide both sides by 12. So we get m is less than 3. Now don't forget that this was and, right? So when we solve it out, we have that 1/3 is less than or equal to m and m is less than 3. So we could also join that as 1/3 is less than or equal to m and it is less than 3. And so to solve out an and inequality, you can read it literally out loud as 12m plus 6 is greater than or equal to 10 and 12m plus 6 is less than 42. Solve the inequalities out normally and then fuse them together. Another way of solving this out, I'll show you the steps. I think it's a little more efficient is what I'll show you right now. But notice that the steps are all the same. It's just how we organize our thoughts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this up here so we can compare it. We would have the original problem, 10 is less than or equal to 12m plus 6, which is less than 42. And now you're literally just going to make sure that you do the undoing of operations to both sides of the inequality, just like we did here. So I'm going to subtract 6 to undo plus 6. Make sure to do that to both inequalities. 10 minus 6 is 4, which is less than or equal to 12m, which is less than 36. From here, we want to isolate m, so I'm going to divide both sides by 12. Notice that the operations I'm doing here in this second method of solving for m is no different than the operations we did before. 4 divided by 12 is 1/3, which is less than or equal to m, which is less than 3. So we get the same answer. I prefer this second method, but you have to be careful that you're doing the same operation of undoing what you did to both sides of the inequality. Otherwise, you're not balancing out the two inequalities that are compounded here. Now, in terms of graphing out our solution, that's a little review for us. We're between 1/3 and 3, including 1/3. So I've got a 1/3 here with a closed circle, a 3 there with an open circle, and we'll shade everything in between. That's it. I prefer method 2, but method 1 perfectly chill. So now I'm going to go over one more example in case you need to see that, and I'm going to use my preferred method, which would be to keep everything together like this. So I want to undo this and solve for m. So I'll multiply everything by 15. Everything gets multiplied by 15, because that's what I would do to undo division by 15. So the 15s divide out. 15, a fifth of 15 is going to be equal to 3. We're left with 3m plus 2 on the right side there. Is less than or equal to 2 times 15. Again, making sure we did the same operation to both sides or both inequalities. Then I'm going to subtract 2. Not so bad. So I subtract 2 from all the inequalities, and we get 1 is less than 3m is less than or equal to 28. Finally, I'm going to divide both inequalities by 3 because I want to isolate m. Right? I'm just aiming to isolate. It's almost like you're solving 2 inequalities at once. Almost. That's what you're doing, right? So I'm left with 1/3 is less than 3 divided by 3 goes to 1. M is less than or equal to 28/3. Weird numbers, but not so bad. Again, a review for us would be graphing it. So weird, we got another 1/3 as an answer. Be an open circle though, and then we're gonna go up to 28/3, which is just a shade above 9, right? 9 and 1/3. And shade everything in between. That's it, peeps. So whether you wanna split everything up literally with the word and then join it all up together at the end, or you'd rather take the technique of solving both at the same time, you will get to the correct answer as long as you're doing the same undoing of operations to both sides of the inequality. Sweet.